get fouled? Maybe. Did he still make the shot? Absolutely. December 20th, 1988, Chicago Stadium. The Showtime Lakers arrived with Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and James Worthy ready to put the league in its place. What they got instead was a preview of who owned the future. Michael hit the floor with purpose. Defensive rebound in traffic, explode to the wing, eyes up, Horace Grant cutting, easy bucket. That wasn't just athleticism, it was control. Next trip, semi-transition, 2 hard dribbles, rise into that silk mid-range. Net. The crowd felt the switch flip. The Lakers tried to funnel him to Byron Scott and help late. It didn't matter. Baseline isolations turned into a clinic. When the trap came, he hung in the air and delivered. Cartwright at the rim, Vincent in the corner. The message was clear. He wasn't just scoring, he was running the whole show. Magic kept the Lakers steady. Left block, field the double, step through, skyhook. But this game was about pressure. Every Jordan stop became a runway. When he added the 3, the building shook. In 1988, you didn't expect him to beat you from deep. Leave him, and the scoreboard moved fast. On paper, Los Angeles still ruled. Chicago had belief. By halftime, the Bulls were up, the soundtrack a gasp every time 23 lifted. Still, nobody thought it was over. The Lakers were too experienced and too used to flipping a switch, so they flipped it. Magic opened the third with a steal, push, and a dime to Worthy, then a skyhook. Chicago's lead shrank. Jordan answered by slowing the tempo, catching at 18 feet, waiting, then bursting past Michael Cooper for soft finishes and jumpers that felt inevitable. As it tightened, Magic conducted while Jordan dictated. Paxson cashed open looks because drives dragged help the wrong way. This wasn't flash for flash's sake. It was efficiency dressed in elegance. The fourth felt like a coin on its edge. Los Angeles hunted mismatches. Jordan answered with perfectly timed steals and the calm of the post. Footwork, fade, bank, then the poster. Under 30 seconds, open floor, Worthy last line. Jordan gathered, lifted, and hammered home a finish that felt like a statement, not humiliation, history. The box score, 40+ with boards, dimes, and steals, told one story. The room told another. The Lakers bench leaning in, Kareem's focus sharpening, the net snapping like a verdict. You felt the league tilt. Scottie Pippen's length bothered lanes, Horace Grant sliced into space, and Cartwright set anchors. They weren't finished, but the blueprint was visible. For Los Angeles, there was no shame. Magic still bent the court, Worthy still sliced, Kareem still commanded space. But dynasties fade softly. Sometimes the first sign is a game that won't obey. This was that night. Watch the film and you'll see the details. The steady exhale at the line, the quiet reset into the same jumper, the pass that opened a shooter 2 passes away. He had always been explosive. Now he was inevitable. In the final minute, possession by possession held its breath. Magic searched, Chicago switched, and Jordan took the exact steal the moment required. Even a bobble turned favorable. Momentum bends toward greatness. When the buzzer hit, no speeches, no choreography. Jordan walked off having moved the horizon. Offense as hammer and scalpel, defense as instrument, will as compass. The Lakers stayed proud. The league stayed warned. People remember the poster, but the imprint was bigger. A star became a system. Chicago learned to live inside the demand, and the league had to survive it. The seeds for future banners were planted here. Trace the arc of the era and circle this game. A superstar didn't just flash, he organized. Crowns changed not with ceremonies, but with possessions and decisions made faster than opponents can process. Ask anyone there. The noise felt focused, like every cheer pushed the story forward. Chicago had seen Jordan fly. This time they watched him conduct. The league took notes. Years later, the clips still feel fresh because genius under pressure reveals truths. Magic's craft, Kareem's grace, Worthy's glide, truths. Jordan meeting them and refusing to blink, another. Back in the tunnel, there was nothing to say. He had spoken in drives and pivots, in hang time and hesitation, in passes that trusted teammates and shots that trusted himself. The old kings tried to remind him about history. He wrote the next chapter in real time. The future arrived in black and red. Context sharpened the stakes. Chicago was only 12-10 coming in, still learning how to stack statement wins. Los Angeles, at 16-7, had the champion's stride. Kareem was in his 40s but still a problem, his touch unbothered by time. Worthy was fresh off proving how a wing could own June. And Magic, part point guard, part gravitational field, still turned defensive rebounds into layups with a glance. Jordan treated every touch like a chance to tilt the axis. One sequence, rebound, push, draw two. Zip it to the cutter for two. Another, flow into a pull-up before the defense finished exhaling. When he missed, he sprinted back and snatched a pass a blink before it reached the post. A thief who knew the script by heart. And still the Lakers kept coming. Magic stitched a mini run straight from the Showtime playbook. Advance, probe, dish. A wraparound found a big, a kick-out found a shooter, then a no-look split two defenders so clean it sounded like fabric tearing. That was their threat. Beauty with teeth. Chicago had to answer not just with highlights, but with maturity. Jordan gave them both, balancing the impossible with the practical, the leap with the pivot, the roar with the whisper. The echoes lasted beyond the night. Coaches clipped sequences to teach. Young guards studied how he changed speeds. Big men watched how quickly his decisions erased their angles. Even rivals nodded because they understood. Excellence respects excellence. And what they saw in Chicago was the next pillar rising. The Lakers would still win plenty, but the balance had shifted. A new center of gravity was forming, and every road to June would have to pass through it. Reporters the next morning tried to frame it as a surprise, but the tape didn't lie. This wasn't an outlier miracle. It was a method repeated until it became inevitable. Early pressure on the ball, quick strikes in space, and constant reads that punished even half-second lapses. Chicago didn't just run, they flowed. When the first option closed, the second and third appeared because Jordan had already mapped them. That's what unsettled a veteran core. He made championship habits look new again. Quietly, this was also a lesson in timing. He didn't chase heat checks. He built them. A mid-range make softened the help. A pocket pass hardened the trust. Then a sudden three forced the backline to stretch one step too far. By the time Los Angeles recalibrated, he'd shifted again. Post touch, shoulder fake, window kiss. Greatness can be loud at the rim, but the foundation was this cadence, this refusal to hurry while never slowing down. For teammates, the ripple was confidence. Paxson shot like he knew the ball would arrive exactly when his feet were right. Grant crashed, knowing a miss might be a pass in disguise. Pippen's strides looked longer, his rotations sharper, because the game around him made sense. That's how a star becomes a standard. The better he played, the simpler the game became for everyone else. Opponents felt the opposite effect. The court shrank, and every dribble felt interrogated. Even the legends across from him recognized the shift. Magic offered nods in live play that only lifers catch, small acknowledgments of a read well made. Kareem, master of economy, rarely wasted motions. Jordan forced even him to reposition twice on a single trip. Worthy, explosive as ever, still found himself a half step late to a contest that would have been on time a season earlier. Respect didn't disappear in this rivalry. It deepened, because duels like this require both sides to be worthy of the moment. Years later, when people debate where torches are passed, they point to rings and June parades. But nights like this are the quiet hinge. One team operates with muscle memory, the other discovers a new gear and refuses to give it back. You could hear it in the crowd, See it in the film room. Feel it in the way schedules were circled afterward. The Lakers still carried history. Jordan carried the horizon. And, after this game, everyone understood which direction the league was moving. Coaches later broke down the film and kept returning to the same sequence types. The delayed fast break where Jordan glided to the nail, froze a defender with a hang, then either rose for a pull-up or skipped it to the weak side at the last heartbeat. Those possessions looked simple on the surface, but they stacked choices on defenders until the only option left was the wrong one. That's the difference between star power and inevitability. When the defense does most things right and still loses the possession by 2 steps. What lingered for players was the feel of the game's temperature changing. Early on, the Lakers' rhythm sounded like a metronome. Clean entries, precise cuts, familiar reads. By the 4th, Chicago's pressure had added a faint wobble to that beat. Passing windows narrowed, catch points drifted a foot off target, and even sound decisions arrived a fraction late. Jordan didn't dominate every second. He bent the minutes that mattered most, and the rest of the team lived in that advantage. In the months that followed, you could see small echoes across the league, wings studying how to mix pace, bigs practicing kickouts on the short roll, point guards reading the low man first. The lesson wasn't just to jump higher or shoot more, it was to control the story of a game without